Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Shay and this is Manifesting with Karmic Side Gal. So if you are new to my channel, welcome here and thank you for joining me. Here on my channel I discuss a lot about manifesting, how to manifest, how to align your chakras, basically just being aligned with your true self. I talk about my spiritual journey and a lot of things going on in my life, my interests and things like that. So something that has been a big part of my spiritual journey is animal totems. If you're not familiar with what that is, these are signs or messages that come to you in the form of animals like birds, deer, insects like bees or like butterflies, those things like that, where you can see that thing and it might mean something significant to you in your life, and you know that it's a message from like a spirit guide or just the universe in general. Or it could be different things that you look it up and then it be something that you need to hear right in that moment. So I want to start a series here on my channel where I will be discussing different animal totems, and today I'm actually discussing 3 different type of insects. I started with these 3 because these are some of the animal totems that I see most often, and then I just really was interested in them. I'm kind of into insects, I'm really into nature, so I like to study them and their behaviors, and when I see them, it can signify a special message for me. Like one that I'll talk about in a future video is cardinals. When I see a cardinal, that reminds me of my mom. Like that's just like my mom coming to me and saying like, I love you, everything is okay. Like when I just be needing her, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna jump right in and just start discussing these 3 animal totems. So the first insect that I'll be talking about today are dragonflies. So I wrote down some facts that I couldn't all remember, and then I'm gonna go into what they mean spiritually, because I think those things do go hand in hand, like the actual meaning of something and then what it could mean in a spiritual sense. So the first thing about dragonflies is these are like prehistoric animals. This is a prehistoric insect. They've been around for over 300 million years. So they've seen a lot of changes in their lifetime, from like the color to the size of them. Apparently in prehistoric times, the air was so thin, like it was so much oxygen in the air, that it caused them to develop in huge size. So nowadays you might see a dragonfly and they're like 2 to 5 inches long, their wingspan. But in prehistoric times they found fossils of dragonflies that were 2 feet long. That's crazy. Like if I see a 2 foot long dragonfly, I will probably freak the fuck out. So an interesting thing about dragonflies that I never knew until today is that dragonflies have a lifespan of about like 2.5 years possibly, but most of their life is spent actually underwater as a larva. So basically for 2 whole years of their lifespan they live underwater as a larva, feeding off other insects and stuff like that that's inside of the water. And then once they finally come out and hatch, then they're like soaking wet, and it takes up to 14 days for their body to dry down before they can fly. Like that's so interesting to me. So something that was really cool to me and really stuck out to me is that when you see a dragonfly, if you've ever seen one, they're like so busy, they're just like all over the place, to the fact that it might make you like be like, oh man, what's this nigga doing, like chill. But they can fly in any direction, so they can fly backwards, they can fly upwards, downwards, left, right, like any direction they can fly. And their whole head is basically their eyes, so they can actually see in every direction as well, just by standing in this. Like if this was something that was in front of me, this was something that was on top of me, on the side of me, on the side of me, a dragonfly can actually see all around their whole head except for behind them that is not an eye. And that's like very interesting. And another thing that dragonflies actually control the mosquito population. Dragonflies to me have very big north node energy. If you have seen a video that I posted probably last week sometimes, it was like when I went on a nature walk and I was talking about what north node and south node means. So north node energy is basically like what you are meant to do in this life, what you'll be known for doing in this life, what kind of path you'll be taking, what kind of person you'll be in this current life that you're in. So dragonflies signify transformation, adaptability, and self-realization. So this is just basically about coming to terms with who you are. So if you see a dragonfly, then you know that's telling you that you're probably going through a transformation, or you're probably in that phase of your spiritual journey where you're coming to terms with like who you are supposed to be in life, like you would as to finding out about your north node. So that is super interesting and cool to me. Another thing that I found out today when I was looking up is that in some native tribes, they call dragonflies the soul of the dead. So what that means is basically what I was saying earlier about if you see a dragonfly, or if you see an animal totem, it could signify like a loved one coming to you and saying like I love you, or everything is going to be okay. So basically it's just like a visit from a spirit guide, and depending on what that animal totem might mean to you, then it could mean something personally for you other than what the meaning might be if you Google like what does a dragonfly mean. So that's just like what I was saying about the cardinal and my mom. So the next animal totem I'll be discussing is the butterfly. So everybody is familiar with the butterfly because it is like the true animal totem for transformation because of the different stages of life that a butterfly has, and it's just in a very short amount of time. So when I see butterflies, I kind of get that like tower card energy. Tower card energy are basically like an abrupt change in your life, like something that happened that caused a huge shift and abrupt change in your life to where things were moving at a rapid pace. So I don't see a butterfly as like a lifelong transformation, kind of similar to what I was saying about the dragonfly. I see it as like a very quick, short term, like quick change in your life. Like say going from high school to college, like that's a whole different atmosphere. You have to actually be, you know, like come an adult and start taking care of yourself, managing your own finances. Like that's a big quick change. To me, that's like a more of a butterfly moment than like something like long term with figuring out your life purpose would be like with the dragonfly. So butterflies are all about renewal. It's about transformation, and it's all about creativity. So something that was really interesting to me is that butterflies have they have 2 antennae, 4 wings, and 6 legs. So, you know, I am into numerology. Well, you might not know. I am into numerology where I study numbers, and that just really says something to me with the 2, 4, 6 and the pattern. And it really spoke to me how 2, 4, 6, that skips a number of what I was saying about what butterflies with rapid change. It's like you kind of skipping steps and just going from here to there like very quickly. So if you are not familiar with any information about butterflies, they do have 4 stages. So the first stage is the egg. Then it goes into the stage of the caterpillar. So from the egg to the caterpillar, basically the egg is just like, you know, doing its egg thing. Once it hatches, it becomes a caterpillar. And so the caterpillar is at the stage of their life of 444, where they are basically eating to survive. All they're doing is eating. Their whole life is just kind of occupying other things and taking up space in other things. And then once this caterpillar gets so stuffed and full, it hangs himself, suspends itself in the air, a very hangman energy, um, to where it can become in this space. If what I would say is a space of self-reflection, but where for a caterpillar, this is a space where it's gonna nurture itself until it gets to the next stage of life, which is to become a butterfly. So once it gets into the butterfly stage, this is when it's completely free. It's shed all these different layers, and after that point, butterflies only live like between 2 weeks to, I think, up to a year or something. So they have a very short stage of life. And I think that kind of butterflies signify to me like lessons in life, or like karmic energy in your life. Basically, like, you know, this is a huge shift, a huge transformation in your life. And you know, with lessons in karmic situations, we're meant to get in and get out of those situations. We're not meant to be stuck in a situation for 5 years. We're not meant to be learning the same lesson for over the span of 10 years. We're literally meant to get in, get what we need out of it, and go and move on to the next stage of our life. So that's what the butterfly really means to me. It's also known for the ascension, which that process, the stage process, is pretty similar to what you are when you are going up to a higher vibration. Higher vibration is like when you're at a lower vibration, you're pretty much feeding off of everything. You're a fucking bottom feeder. Like, I don't mean to seem judgy or shameful for people that are in a lower vibration, because we've all been there, and on top of that, we're never all going to be at a higher vibration all the time. I was just in a low vibration this past weekend, so I'm not judging. I'm just saying that when you are in that state of lack, that is just like the larva and the caterpillar. All you can do is just take. There's nothing that you can give to universes until you are literally fat and fed. And then that is when you start to have that moment of self-reflection of what it is that you are going to do or offer into the world. So butterfly in general is just about the experience of life and going through life. And then just especially that part about being in the cocoon, that is when the time that you take to yourself to really know yourself, to really, if you're doing any fasting, prayer, to when you're heavy and deep in your meditation, that's like the most times where you really grow yourself, where you really heal yourself. And it's like when you really go into the shadow, that's kind of what it's like being a cocoon. And then when you emerge as this butterfly, and healed where you need to be healed, so that you can really, you know, bask in the sun and show off your beauty and be free ultimately. So I really love butterflies. I love seeing them. When I see them, I also look up like the different colors or the different species, because those could also have like a meaning depending, because they are in different areas, you know, and different areas have certain type of butterflies or whatever like that. This last animal totem is one that I really love, and I really cherish when I see them, because for a while this insect was actually becoming extinct. Most of the reason was because of the pollution in the air, or just us as being humans being greedy and building things on, you know, forests and places where they would naturally have a habitat. Because once there's gravel poured over their habitat, they don't migrate, they just die off. So, you know, just a couple months ago, me and my kids were visiting their dad, and we were outside playing after we had like a little cookout, and there were fireflies everywhere, and I was so excited because I hadn't seen them in so long. And when I grew up as a kid, me and my cousins would spend all of the summer together. Like, that just was one of my best childhood memories. And we would go catching what we called them lightning bugs. I didn't even know what a firefly was until Fireflies by Owl City came out, no lie. So we would call them lightning bugs, and we would put them in jars, or sometimes we would just like pick the light out of them, like, you know, kids be doing stuff they ain't supposed to be doing. But so it really brought a memory back for me, and I was glad that I was able to share that moment with my kids, like catching them and like releasing them and just being in awe of their beauty. And this was something really this was another very interesting animal totem when I really got to looking up the research about them. So the first thing about fireflies is how the light is created. First of all, it's not even like a actual fly or anything. It's a beetle that happens to have wings. And I don't know if you've ever seen one or held one, but the wings literally look like a busted open sunflower seed. And then it has like this little red bead on it, and you could turn it over and pull out the bulb if you wanted to. But don't do that though, because like I said, they're going extinct. So there is a lot to be said about fireflies, because just actually looking at their physical body, like I said, with the hard shell on the outside and then the light being on the inside, it really signifies like the light at the end of the tunnel, having hope, and just the light being on the inside of them and the outside of them not actually being so like beautiful to the eye. It's like a message of saying like it's the inside that counts, you know, like it's what matters in your heart is what's counting. When you see that animal totem, that's something like you can know, like follow your heart or whatever, you know. So it's about hope, guidance, inspiration, and spiritual awakening. Something that's interesting to know, if you don't know anything about fireflies, when they are lighting and you see a bunch of them lighting, they're actually having a mating ceremony, and we're just busting up their fun. So different species of fireflies have different patterns of their lights. With them being the whole thing of what they're doing, well, I'll explain. So for fireflies, I keep wanting to say lightning bugs. For fireflies, when they are out and they are having this mating season, the conditions have to be perfect. It has to be a certain temperature outside, it has to be a certain humidity, and if there could be some moisture, that will be an ideal habitat for them as well. So in order for them to even have this mating, it has to be perfect conditions, the air conditions and all that stuff like that. So when you think about that from a spiritual sense, or from like a human experience, that's like when you are trying to find the one, you know what I mean? When you're trying to find your soulmate, you're thinking the conditions have to be perfect. It has to be exactly this nice temperature outside. The air has to feel good, their vibe, their energy, like all of these things come into play when you're like, you know, trying to find the mate. So that was really interesting to me. Like, I never seen lightning bugs and thought of them as a love bug, but like now I do. Now I feel like a whole different way about them. Another thing, when you see fireflies, it could be a sign that you might be overworking yourself or even overplaying yourself. Like basically there's no balance in your life. So if you see a lightning bug, that could signify that you're burning the candle at both ends. Like you're just going too hard in life, and you know, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you're literally burning yourself down. So if you see fireflies, that could remind you that you need to just kind of slow down, take a break, relax a little bit, or just turn it down a notch, you know what I mean? Another thing about fireflies is, this is kind of about what I was saying about burning yourself out, is basically using your resources to the best of your ability is another thing. And I think people never think when they see a firefly what that could be a message telling them. Fireflies are actually the most efficient light source They use all of the energy used to create their light is 100% just a chemical reaction in their bodies. Scientists have actually tried to copycat their light source so that they can make more efficient and stable light sources for us to use as humans. And basically, it's just a chemical reaction. So the light is created with their oxygen cells. Um, and this chemical called luciferin, and basically when that chemical reaction occurs, it makes the light in them. And so that is really cool. They don't actually really eat a lot. I think when they're larvae, they eat a whole bunch, like snails and other animals that's found in the dirt. And then when they come out as full fireflies, some of them may eat nectar, but most of them don't have any diet at all. So for them to not even require anything to create this light source is very amazing. So what I was saying, going back to their habitat being perfect, they can be found anywhere in the world besides Antarctica or any places that have desert or extreme heat. So that goes back to what I was saying about a balance in relationships, about it not being able to be too hot or too cold. So maybe that it could be a signal, like in relationships, if there's not a balance or even flow, that could be what you're seeing as an animal totem. So I know this video was kind of lengthy and it didn't flow the best, but I hope the information was still good for you guys. And I'll be back with even more animal totems because I love talking about this. And to me, they're just as exciting to talk about as angel numbers. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.